Our today's topic is climate change. Let us first discuss the definition of climate change. What is actually climate change? Climate change means a change in the Earth's atmosphere in its normal weather patterns for different climates. So, 2 points would get from its definition that the climate change is actually the change in its atmosphere and on which that there as from this definition we get that there are different patterns for different climate. So there are different climates like such as temperate, polar, continental, and many others. So they and tropical climates. So each climate has different weather patterns. And then as we know that there are cooler and warmer places on the earth. So one fact is that they depend upon the equator, that further apart are the closest one, and as well as the warming and cooling of the earth also depend upon global warming, and this phenomena is called the global warming. Further, we will also discuss the definition as well. But now the scientists believe that global warming isn't caused by only naturally by the earth, it is caused by human activities as well. There are some factors, there are some natural factors on on which the global warming is caused, but there are many human activities. Further, we will discuss them. So now we will discuss that what is greenhouse effect. The trapping of the Earth's warmth in a planet's lower atmosphere, which is due to the greater transparency of the atmosphere to visible radiation from the sun, that to infer radiation emitted from the planet's surface, is called greenhouse effect. And what are greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases are the gases that contribute to the greenhouse effect by absorbing infrared radiation such as carbon dioxide. Here comes the effect of greenhouse gases. So, first is fresh water will be in short supply, and rising sea level, diseases will spread due to high temperature, droughts, increased fire threats. And here comes the causes are that increase concentration of the greenhouse gases, burning fossil fuels, deforestation, farming, pollution, and also using CFC gases. So here comes the ways to reduce greenhouse gases. First, to reduce the use of fossil fuels, and of course to use biofuels and use the recycled materials. Do anyone remember the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle? And we have to do this. And also produce energy from the waste and control deforestation, which is very important, and also to plant a tree. And drive, we should drive less, so there should be less pollution, and use less air conditioners as well, and buy green electricity, and do not use the toxic products. Another disadvantage of the greenhouse gases is disappearing of ice. Many scientists have found that higher temperatures are causing most of the glaciers to retreat, and in some glaciated valleys, lakes are being formed by the melted ice. However, not all glaciers are retreating, and a few are even advancing also. So, what happens to the ice from a retreating glacier? The glacier in the Great Himalayan Range. First, we will have the example of the Great Himalayan Range that have been measured are retreating for by an average of 18 meter to 20 meter per year. It is a huge amount. However, the glaciers in the highest part of the Karakoram mountain range are advancing. So here first example was of the retreating glacier, which are the Greater Himalayan range, and the second was the advancing, which are the Karakoram range. And in some places, melting ice from the glacier caused flood as well. And this is also the effect of the greenhouse gases, and this happened in the Chitral in 2015. This example has been given that in Chitral this happened, that because of the melting of the glaciers the floods came. And when the ice melts and a heavy rainfall caused a glacier lake to overflow the Kanpur Dam on the Huro River in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And now the second example, which held in 2010, there was a landslide near Ahmedabad that created a dam across the Hunza River. A lake was formed behind the dam and flooded towns, fields, and the roads, including the part of the Karakoram Highway. Okay, and then including this incident, a channel was dug to take away any water that overflow the dam, and this help to prevent floods further downstream if the glaciers melt. And then come the frozen water around the north and the south poles, and which is called the sea ice, and some of this ice melts in summer but it remains permanently, and this permanent ice is the minimum size of the ice cap. An example came in 2012 that a permanent ice in the Arctic shrank to its smallest ever area. So here many people will ask that do the melting of sea ice matters? But yes, it do matters. How? When the sea ice melt, it does not change the sea levels because the sea is already floating in the ocean. But the sea ice is important in holding back global warming because its large white area reflects sunlight. Of course, you can see it, and you might test this by giving a piece of white cloth and a piece of black cloth in the sunshine for about 15 minutes, and you can feel the difference in the warmth of the each piece of cloth. So it does matters. But there is an example of Arctic that which is not shrinking. This is because the Antarctica is so cold that global warming is not yet melting the ice there. But they have found that the ice has become thicker in some places, that it haven't melt, but in the few upcoming years it would happen that the ice would melt in Antarctica. But some scientists think that the pattern of the ice sheet melting in Greenland goes on for a while and then begins to return to normal. And others think that this is a trend that may cause sea levels to rise and make the sea less salty. Second one is land ice. Land ice is found on Earth in the form of glaciers, and if the land ice melt, so the sea level around the world would increase by approximately 7 meters. And now let us take the example of the melting ice in Greenland. Near the pole, North Pole is not as cold as Antarctica, so the ice there is more likely to melt each spring and summer, which is from April to October, and the winter rain and snowfall freeze and replace the melted ice. And the example can be taken from the 1978 till 2008, the total amount of the ice that permanently melting grew from around 14 million kilometers square to nearly 22 million kilometers square. In in July 2012, there was a record-breaking melting of the ice sheet surface in Greenland, which was 97%. It is a huge amount, only out of 100%, 97%. So the climate change also affect animals and plants, such as let us take the example of the polar bear. Polar bear lives around the North Pole and are mainly feed on the seals. So they live on the ice, sea ice, and hunt for the seals in the sea around the ice. So as the ice is melting, they have to swim further to find stable ice, and this leave them very tired, and especially the female who also have the cubs and also have to look after them, and many adults and cubs are also dying from the starvation as well because they do not find the food or the seals. And then come the whales. Whales are the sea animals, so some whales feed on plankton, which is the tiny living organism, and because of the warm the sea contains the warmer water, so if there would be warmer water, so less living organism would live in there. So the whales that feed on the tiny living organism would die from starvation, and then they have to travel further in search of the seas of the food, so they are being found washed up on the beaches where whales have never been seen before, such as at the coast of England. And then comes the plants. So some plants are producing flower buds early because of the warmer temperature, but overnight frost can kill these birds and affect plant population. such as the alpine plants grow on high ground, and if their habitat becomes too warm to survive, so they do not exist in higher temperature or do not grow in higher temperature. Then comes the birds. Birds are birds usually migrate to cooler climates during the summer, at the beginning to the migrate earlier, and due to this early migration they could starve if the insects they usually feed on have not yet hatched when they reach their destination. In So, we have discussed about the effect of climate change on the plants and animals. Now, we will come on humans. Higher temperatures and changing weather patterns cause decrease in the freshwater supply, droughts, floods, crop damage, population and diseases are mosquitoes and ticks survive longer, and increase in consumption of electricity. Now we will come on the ozone layer, which is damaged because of the greenhouse gases and the human activities. So many people ask that what is ozone layer? Ozone layer is a gas in the Earth's atmosphere, and it is created by the reaction of the ultraviolet rays, mean the sun rays and the oxygen, and it has a pale blue color, but it is too little in the air around us, and some people can smell ozone as well even when there are very small amount in the air, and it smells similar to chlorine as well, which probably shows that it is in bleach and is sometimes used to disinfect the swimming pools. And the scientists have given it the symbol of O3, mean three oxygens combination, and the symbol for oxygen is O2. There is a very tiny amount of ozone in the atmosphere, about to 0.3 part per million. Most of it is in the ozone layer. In the lower part of the stratosphere, we can see. And what is it's important? It is important to keep out most of the harmful ultraviolet rays. And what is ultraviolet rays? The part of the sun's radiation is called the ultraviolet radiation, and it is also necessary for the life, but not in a higher amounts. Scientists have discovered that during these centuries or many years, the ozone layer have become thick, and scientists have found that the gases from the human activities damage the ozone layer as well as cause of the global warming. And some of these gases can survive in the atmosphere 50 to 100 years, which is a huge damage for us. Ozone is a very reactive gas, and it can damage the leaves of the plant and affect how they use sunlight to produce food. So during photosynthesis, ozone has a huge effect on them, and in humans it can cause headache, eye irritation, coughs and chest discomfort, and it is one of the reactive gases in the smoke as well. Scientists have found that CFCs, mean the chemical chlorofluorocarbon, damage the ozone layer. And CFCs we usually use in the aerosols, insulation foam, fridges and air condition. Now here I would like to end up the video. Thanks for watching.